All right, let's jump right in. For a whole generation of us here in Ireland, Sunday night had a very specific sound. It wasn't an alarm clock or a bell, it was a theme tune. We're going to get into the story of a show that was way more than just a TV program. It was a national ritual. We're talking, of course, about Glenroe.
And there it is. He looked a bit of a gom. With just those few brutally honest words, a TV institution was basically born. I mean, that was Biddy McDermott's very first impression of Miley Byrne. For anyone who doesn't know, a gom is, well, it's kind of like a fool, an idiot. But that, right there, that's the kind of real, down-to-earth honesty that made everyone fall in love with these characters.
Okay, so Section 1, a Sunday night ritual. To really get just how big a deal Glenroe was, you've got to cast your mind back. Picture it. It's Sunday night, sometime between the early 80s and the 2000s. The homework's finally done, maybe there's a fire on, and at 8:30, pretty much the entire country just stopped. Everyone settled in for Glenroe.
So, what was it, officially? Well, Glenroe was an Irish television soap that ran for a massive 18 years, all the way from 1983 to 2001. It was set in this fictional village in County Wicklow, but it felt so real. It followed the lives and, all the dramas of the Byrne and McDermott families. For so many people, it just became this comforting, absolutely essential part of the week. Now here's something you might not know. Glenroe didn't just pop up out of thin air. It was actually the final piece of a bigger puzzle, a kind of trilogy of Irish rural dramas from the brilliant Wesley Burrows. It started way back in '65 with the Riordans. Then came the spin-off, Bracken, in 1980, which is where we first met Dinny and Miley Byrne. So when Glenroe started in '83, it was carrying on their story. Imagine that. All right, next up, Affairs of the Heart. Because really at the center of it all, especially in those early years, were two love stories. And they were so different from each other, but they absolutely had the entire country completely hooked.
And this is what it all came down to. On one hand, you had Miley and Biddy. Theirs was this really sweet, wholesome, slow burn kind of romance. Just a quiet farmer and this incredibly capable young woman. They were the heart of the show. And then, on the other hand, you had Dick and Mary. Oh, that was the juicy stuff. A super risque, secret affair between the local solicitor and Biddy's own mother, who was stuck in this really unhappy marriage. That contrast? That's what fueled all the gossip on Monday morning.
And really, Molly and Biddy's relationship was the anchor for the whole show. By getting married, they tied the two main families together, the Byrnes and the McDermotts. It was so much more than just a love story. It was like the foundation the whole community was built on. They really represented this kind of traditional, aspirational vision of rural Irish life, and it just connected with people so deeply.
Okay, moving on to Section 3, Tackling Irish Taboos. Because, Glenroe wasn't just about farming and who was courting who. Not at all. It actually very quietly started to push the envelope. It started tackling subjects that you just didn't really see on primetime Irish TV back then. So, the big question is, how did a show that the whole family watched together handle these really complex, sometimes controversial social issues? Well, it was clever. It didn't preach or lecture. It just wove these storylines right into the lives of the characters, reflecting this Ireland that was slowly but surely starting to change.
I mean, just look at some of the topics they took on. You had religion, with clashes between faith and science. They even had a priest retire to go on a world cruise with a widow. They explored prejudice against the traveling community through characters like Blackie Connors. Of course, there was the massive infidelity storyline with Dick and Mary. And then later on, a huge family secret came out when it was revealed a main character was the product of an affair with a traveler. By putting these issues into the lives of people we felt we knew, Glenroe started conversations in living rooms all over Ireland.
All right, Section 4 is the end of an era. Because, nothing lasts forever. And after almost 20 years, things in this beloved village started to shift, both on the screen and behind the scenes. The end was on the horizon. 18. Just think about that number. For 18 seasons, Glenroe was there, every single week. It was just this constant, reliable part of Irish life, a total fixture. And then, things started to change. Some key people left, and it really signaled a shift. In 2000, Joe Lynch, who played the iconic Dinny Byrne, left the show. And then, not long after, came the big one. The character of Biddy was killed off in a car crash. For so many people, with Dinny and Biddy gone, it really felt like the soul of the show was just gone too. Then, in January 2001, the official word came down. The RTE director of television said it was clear the show was, quote, coming to the end of its natural life. And that was that. The final episode aired on May 6, 2001. And get this, over 500,000 people, 591,000 viewers, tuned in to say goodbye. That really stands out. So, that brings us to our final section, the Byroad's legacy. When it was all over, what was left? What did Glenroe leave behind?
Well, its cultural footprint is actually massive. I mean, it spun off a #1 hit single in 1990, The Byroad to Glenroe, sung by Mick Lally himself. Its theme tune is probably one of the most recognizable pieces of music in the country. But more than that, it was a mirror, reflecting a rural Ireland that was right on the cusp of huge change. It even became a benchmark that politicians would bring up in debates for years. It was just that big.
And I think the creator Wesley Burroughs said it best. Let there be no whinging or moaning at the bar for Glenroe, which for 18 years gave good neighbors to a generation. That's just a perfect, proud farewell, isn't it? He knew what he had created. It wasn't just a show. It was about giving people neighbors they could count on every Sunday night. Imagine that.
So, if you enjoyed this little trip down the byroad to Glenroe, please do give us a like, subscribe for more explainers like this one, and I'd really love to know, let us know your favorite Glenroe memory down in the comments below.